Hey, Peacenicks. Thanks for listening to the Peace on Drugs podcast. If you're enjoying, don't be afraid to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It helps get our podcast to a larger audience. Also, go to www.thepeaceondrugs.com and subscribe to our newsletter. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Peace on Drugs Podcast. Today's guest is David Buckley. David Buckley. David and I, we go back a long time. I remember smoking pot in his driveway in high school, his parents' house, and sitting at the dinner table, super stoned, and being asked to say the blessing. We had a lot of fun together growing up, and now him and his wife Alicia, they own the Pied Piper Smoke and Vape Shop chain in the North Carolina mountains.
There's been a few times where I've kind of forgot that I'm eating a bag of THC gummies, and the next thing I'm like, God dang, the whole bag's gone. Oh shoot! And then even the experienced user as I am, the edibles will still sometimes put me on the point where I'm like, whew, a little paranoid right now.
I remember another time when me and David and some friends, David was driving, we got in a car accident, not a bad one, but we were all tripping on acid, and the cop had to come and do the report for the accident, and one at a time we all had to sit in the cop car and tell the story of what happened, all the while we were peaking on a really nice acid trip. So it was crazy. It didn't ruin the trip. We all kind of had a laugh afterwards. It's just crazy to look back at these memories. We were like 16 years old. Now David's a father. He owns 4 smoke shops in the North Carolina mountains.
So we got in there and everything, and I was nervous, and I'm already kind of like in tears, emotional, like, oh my God, my wife could have died, the baby could have died, what's going on? Everybody was so running around, okay, get this up, do this, you gotta do that, all right, go ahead, give me this. And then so I was panicking, just looking around and everything, and the next thing I knew, I heard a baby cry. And I was like, who the fuck has a baby in here? I was like, who the fuck has a goddamn? And it didn't, it took about maybe 3 or 4 seconds to register in my head. I was like, that's your kid, dude. That's your fucking kid right there, man.
It's always a fun time talking with David. I really hope you guys enjoy this podcast as much as I did. Let's dive in.
America's public enemy number 1 in the United States is drug abuse.
Drugs are menacing our society.
What are your thoughts on the drug problem?
I had a great time doing drugs.
So tonight, from our family to yours, from our home to yours, thank you for joining us.
This is the Peace on Drugs.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, and thanks for being on the Peace on Drugs.
Yeah, of course. Ain't got much else to do. No football yet. So.
No football, not till 1 o'clock when the Cardinals destroy us.
Most likely, yes.
I don't know. Is Cam Newton starting today?
Nah. I think he'll be hopefully next week. That's crazy. He's back with us.
I know. Before we bore people with football talk, we're Panthers fans. If you didn't already catch that, how high are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Right now, probably about a 6 or so. Yeah, we've had about a bowl or 2 so far today, and done a dab and maybe a few gummies too.
Word, damn, these are both indicas. Hold on, I was gonna smoke a joint, but
the indica, you know what they say about indica? Put you in the ground,
in the couch.
In the couch.
In the ground.
Yeah.
What kind of indica are you smoking? It'll kill you. Yeah. I'm gonna hit this real fast. Fuck it. I'll smoke some indica. I don't mind indica. I prefer the hybrids.
I do too, actually. You'll get the benefits of your sativa and your indicas, which are gonna, really help your cannabinoid system out even more anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on, I'm gonna grab a lighter. I think here we are. Got in the studio. Man, I wish I could show you the studio. I haven't hung the thing I bought from you yet. I bought a tapestry from David's shop here at Pied Piper. I bought a 3D tapestry.
Check us out.
Hell yeah. We'll get more into that. all my tapestries in here are 3D, and they're the same company I bought that you're selling, and they're fucking awesome. I got the 3D glasses, so when you get high,
it's Sunshine Joy. I think it's from Sunshine Joy.
I'm not
sure
the company.
They're fantastic tapestry company.
I love these pre-rolls, man. So,
yep, they're there. So we sell a lot of pre-roll Delta 8s. Honestly, a lot of people would rather just.
You sell these?
Yes, we do. That exact ashtray. Oh man, my background is so lame. Like you're smoking a joint, you got cool shroom tapestries and shit, and I have a white wall. that's about it.
Hey, you gotta buy some of your own tapestries, or you don't have to buy them, but just take them with you when you leave work.
I should, yeah. We're still getting the house renovated and shit. Renovated, but yeah, I still got crap strewn out everywhere and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that looks nice.
It is nice. So wanted to talk about. So let's talk about the Pied Piper. That's what you do. You own 4 locations, right?
It's 4 locations right now. We'll go over how the whole breakdown of business and how it started. So we opened in 2014 with the 1 location in Silva. By the summer of 2015, we had taken off and we're doing good. We kind of had so much back stock that we realized that we could open another store with the amount of back stock inventory that we've got right here. So we looked around and everything, found a spot in Franklin that was very, very low on rent and everything, and opened up down there and started doing our thing and everything. And it was going right along. And after that one took off and all that stuff started going, we decided we wanted to get in Waynesville. We originally first tried to start looking for a place to open up a store in Waynesville in 2017. It took us about 12 to 14 months in that particular town to finally find something, and we got that one opened. In the meantime, while we were opening Waynesville, we were also moving our Franklin location 1 door down because it was 3 times the space. So we went ahead and moved that location. And then after we got Waynesville opened, I think we opened that in 2018. And then last year, we went ahead and jumped into Asheville with the big boys out there. And we're doing pretty good out there. But in the meantime while we were opening the Asheville location, we were also moving our Waynesville location about 1.5 miles down the road to a bigger spot with better rent and more views and all that kind of stuff. And I personally believe one of the reasons our company is able to survive and just keep our sales topping out every year and stuff is the fact that we don't stay stagnant. We'll move those stores when there's a better location. Our top selling products that we've got right now we didn't even carry most of them in 2018. It's an evolving industry. If you don't stay on top of that, there's something. Jack Welch, the CEO of a GE Corporation, said the day that you come to work and you're not innovating and thinking and trying to figure out how to make your company better, the day you come to work without that idea, that's the first day you come to work and you don't have a company.
So yeah, and your industry does change, and it changes rapidly, and a lot of it has to do with laws that change, and also new products that sometimes come for a short time, and you make money, and then the laws catch up, and they're no longer on your shelves.
That's true. The way that the cannabinoid industry seems to be leaning right now a little bit does remind me a little bit of the way that the spice industry was, or the synthetic
the difference is
we never carried any of those,
right?
But what they would do is they ban one compound that was in it, so they alter the formula just a hair a little bit and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, they created analogs of the
exactly
of the cannabinoids. So what they would do is they'd change one little thing, and most of them came from China. These synthetic cannabinoids. And one thing I found interesting about synthetic cannabinoids is they are a full agonist, whereas THC from like Delta-9s and Delta-8s are partial agonists to your cannabinoid receptors, which means partial agonist is not going to be it's not addictive. Like you're not going to have physical withdrawals if you quit taking it. There's no overdose.
Right.
Synthetic cannabinoids being full agonists, there's extreme withdrawals if you quit taking suddenly. And there's also chances of overdose and death, which is not the case with traditional marijuana or cannabis.
I haven't really ever heard of anybody overdosing on weed. I don't think ever.
Not on cannabis, no.
you can read about the problem that, those synthetics have caused. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll have just, some random herb like oregano or, who knows what it is. And then they'll spray spray
Exactly.
the liquid cannabinoid on it or whatever they are. And who knows what the hell's really in that stuff. But you can see it on TV. They did a special little episode about it. I think it wasn't Hamilton. I think it was like that Drugs Incorporated thing or whatever. And they just did the whole thing, like following spice addicts and stuff. And I've never done it. We never sold it. I didn't know it was that intense. It definitely did not look like any kind of weed high I've ever had.
I didn't smoke. Somebody gave me one once, and I saw the not for human consumption. I didn't know anything about it, and I wasn't even a pot smoker much at the time. But however, I did smoke a little pot, and I had actual pot. So I was like, I don't want whatever this is. I just threw it in the trash can. I never tried it.
Like, I'm gonna take this and smile and everything. When you turn your back, I'll be like, does anybody want this? I do not want this.
Yeah, I do not know what this is. And so, but on hindsight, I wish I would have tried it. Now that I know what it was, it's a synthetic cannabinoid. I would have tried a very small amount. I'm just curious to see what the difference is, because I've heard. But here's another problem: depends on what analog you get. The things that were sold under K2, they were not all the same analog, because as China would outlaw one analog, they would change a little something.
Switch to another
one.
Right,
so some of them were a lot more potent than others. So you might get your regular, what you think is the same brand K2, and you take a drag and it's 10 times stronger than the last batch you got. So, and that could be where it gets dangerous. People kind of got out of their minds on it. Whereas regular traditional cannabis, you can only get so high on. And don't get me wrong, edibles, you can get pretty high. I get uncomfortably high.
There's been a few times where I've kind of forgot that I'm eating a bag of THC gummies, and the next thing I'm like, God dang, the whole bag's gone. Oh shoot. And then even the experienced user as I am, the edibles will still sometimes put me on the point where I'm like, whew, a little paranoid right now.
And I'm guessing that happens because you're already high when you start eating the gummies, so you're just get munchy mode, so you're just like,
usually yes. One thing I've definitely noticed too is that they'll and I've noticed this with the Delta-9 gummies specifically, especially these covert ones that we're selling now. They are so strong. I'll eat one or two and I'll feel a little something off of them, but an hour later, like I'll have my lunch or something, and after I eat a meal, that's when it just totally releases. And I'm like, wow, why am I so tired? My shoulders, what's going on? I was like, I guess those gummies are hitting me now. So I think that it's different. I personally think gummies are different for different people. Like, I know people that they just won't eat gummies. They're like, I can't eat that, man. I hallucinate and, see things. And I'm like, well, I've never, what kind of gummies are you eating?
That's kind of how I am. If I can do no more than 5 milligrams. I mean, I should say I can handle 10 milligrams. After 10 milligrams, I'm way too high. And I know some people that eat 100 and be fine. I just, after 10 milligrams, I am gone. Like,
yeah, I've got them, the little like gummy bags, little gummy Lego bears or whatever, like 20 milligrams a piece. Sometimes I catch myself eating 10 of those. I'm like, oh wow, it was like 200 milligrams.
Now, is that Delta 8 or 9?
That's Delta-9.
Yeah, that's way too much. I would honestly, I did 25 milligrams the last time and I absolutely hated it. It hits me so strong. It's like I was having this crazy trip. I was like in another dimension. It was crazy.
Now the Delta-9 gummies, when I ate those do seem to hit me pretty automatically. I mean, I'll feel those really quick. A lot of people I know tell me they won't feel them. They're like, oh, I'll eat them. I won't feel anything for at least half an hour, an hour. And then it all comes on like an acid trip or something, I guess.
Yeah, that's how it is for me.
It is different though. It does. Well, I think, I don't want to misstate these facts. I could possibly not be right, but I think when you actually ingest it, what your metabolism system does to it is it turns it into a little bit of a different compound than when you actually smoke it.
It is. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I don't know that.
But it is. It's not the same drug actually. When you smoke it, yeah, exactly. When you metabolize it through your gut, it becomes a slightly different and more potent psychoactive chemical. And it's the same. I mean, other drugs are all the same, right? If you shoot heroin, you're getting straight heroin. If you take it through your gut, it converts it back to regular morphine. So ingested heroin isn't the same as shot up heroin. And so how we consume our drugs of choice, anyway, heroin's a hard left turn. We won't go there right now.
Yeah. But it is kind of hard if you are, I suppose what you would say, maybe recreational drug user, but maybe somebody who does more than smokes weed and stuff like that. It's hard because even though weed isn't what I would consider a regulated industry, I mean, you're not gonna get that one bulb pack that's like, oh man, he got that shit from Jerry, that weed fucking killed him. Like that,
yeah,
that doesn't, you don't really hear about that.
Because it's a natural drug. because
you
you're
hear about
getting
that
flour.
with other drugs and stuff. You know, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, if the criminals had more regulation themselves on this type of thing and were providing a product that was maybe a little more like you knew what you were getting, it'd be a better product, and they could personally cut down on the overdoses. But they don't want to do that though, because as soon as someone dies off their product, they hear that, they're like, oh, I want that stuff.
That's actually true. I read that.
That's the stuff that's killing people. I want
somebody
that
died.
stuff.
Oh, that's so crazy that people think that way. That must be some good stuff. I'll just be a little more careful than that guy.
It's crazy. I mean, you don't ever see anybody like you're watching the news and like blah, 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 car wreck, 2 people died in the fire. And you're just like, oh man, I think I want to go try that.
Yeah. Or that's the car for me. That car must go fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, what you said about if there was more regulation for the drug dealers, and here's the thing is this is happening. I was reading about in Spain. In Spain, they've decriminalized all drugs. So they're not legal, but if you're a small time drug dealer or drug user, there's no criminal penalties. So the people, they actually have government testing where you can submit your drugs and they will test them and tell you what's in them. And because of this, on the streets, most drugs are pure. Heroin, LSD, MDMA, it's all pure because the drug dealers know if they sell you something that's not pure, you're going to find out. Whereas in this country, you won't find out. So they'll sell you whatever.
I had no idea that was going on. But I mean, why not? You're going to have, eventually it's going to have to be regulated at some type of level, because the idea that we're going to stop this huge flow of illegal drugs coming into the world, not just our country, but the world. I mean, look at the cocaine problem in Europe right now. It's crazy. It can't be stopped. It just has to be addressed.
Exactly. And the thing is, we can decriminalize all day, and that's awesome. I think what Spain's doing is great. Part of one of the reasons why places choose to decriminalize versus legalize is that there's a UN policy that if you're a member of the UN, you cannot legalize drugs like cocaine and heroin. Now, granted, Switzerland's done it, but they do it on a medical level that I guess is kind of a lot of these. We'll see even cannabis laws in this country are in violation of the UN agreement. We're not technically allowed to.
This is a big reason why federally we're still like, oh no, man, that's just our screwy states over there. Yep. They're not listening to us.
But here's the thing: the United States has the power. If we decide to decriminalize against the UN, they will change their policies based on us. We are the leaders of these policies.
Yeah, I think we hold a good little bit of clout in that agency right there.
Definitely. And they're the reason, we're the reason that they outlawed them in the first place. We're the reason that the whole war on drugs all across the world is happening the way it's happening. We're the reason that in places like Malaysia, their firing squads are shooting drug dealers, all because of drug policies that we started.
Yeah. Where was the Philippines? I think Malaysia now too. Yeah, they're just like
the Philippines. That Duarte or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Durant or whatever. But I think his daughter's about to be vice president. But yeah, they were just basically like, yeah, if you know that someone's selling drugs, kill them and tell us, and that'll be cool. Like, yeah, good Lord,
it's crazy. That, yep, and Trump actually congratulated him for his handling of the drug problem over there and said if we had stricter laws like that here, we'd have less drug problems.
I remember.
Do you think we should shoot our citizens for using drugs? Like, is that a good idea? No, I think we should go the way of Spain and say, hey, we're going to decriminalize them. We're going to start, making it safer to use. Also, why can't I go to a rave or go to an electric dance concert or forest or festival and eat MDMA and have a great time? Why is that illegal? But I can go to a Leonard Skinner concert and get blind drunk. And then, it's just, which is way more dangerous than all of a sudden I get behind the wheel and I kill somebody, which, don't get me wrong, it's illegal to drink and drive, but the drug itself is not illegal. And how many people do MDMA and then get behind the wheel and do something crazy? I mean, it's just not as dangerous of a drug.
As crazy as this might sound, and nobody's going to be like, you can't do that, but it's because the drug industry, the illegal drug industry in particular, never tried to do anything with positive public marketing. Look what the alcohol industry did. The cigarette industry even had doctors promoting Camels, Camel, the number one cigarette smoked by doctors.
Yeah, doctors would prescribe.
They infiltrated the media in a way to sway the public on their side, whereas on the other side with the drugs, the media was infiltrated by the government to sway the public's, reasoning the other way.
It was all anti-drug propaganda and all of television and shows like Fresh Prince, Saved by the Bell
for drugs. So drugs, with the cocaine, everything, it's all underground and everything. Enter the pharmaceutical companies. Now you have people who are marketing these drugs And all of a sudden you got an opioid problem because Oxycontin was deemed to be, you know, less than 1% addictive to anybody who takes it. And everybody knows that, holy crap, that's fucking so wrong.
It is.
So I'm watching that Dope Sick right now.
Oh, I was about to say,
it's fresh in my mind, man.
Yeah,
I'm so mad that there's no more episodes till Wednesday.
I'm actually not all caught up. I just started. Somebody told me about it. I was on my road trip to when I came and saw you in Savannah. There was this doctor that was staying there with his family, and we started talking about addiction. And he's like, "You got to watch Dope Sick." And I was like, "What's that?" I was like, "How do you not know what this is if you're doing an opioid crisis special?" I've not heard anything about it. So yeah, I started watching it then. It's really good.
It's good, man. Michael Keaton kills it.
Yeah, he's great.
I mean, it's so real. It's so, because I mean, Oxycontin was introduced really in like 1998 and 99. I mean, I knew about it at that point. That was, I think, the first year that Forest View opened. I was in 10th grade. I remember, I won't say no names or anything, but I remember somebody coming up and showing me a whole bunch of pills that said OC on one side, 20 on the other. And I was like, what's that?
I loved those.
They were like, I'm not sure. I think these are like fake ecstasy pills or something. And I said, well, I don't want fake ecstasy pills. I'm sorry. I don't want any. I'm not interested in what you're showing me right now, because this dude wasn't somebody you might not trust all the time anyways. But
I think I know what you're talking about.
I took one, you know, it's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. Just, you got to do this. You got to do it. So he gave me one. And then after school, I was with somebody in my Jeep and stuff, and I showed it to them. And they were like, oh, no, man, that's like a Percocet or a hydrocodone, but it's just way stronger. And I was like, well, that's cool, because I do like opioids. I was like, well, I'll split it with you then, you know. I was like, well, I'll cut it in half and give you half of it. And that's when they were like, told me, they were like, no, I'm going to show you how to suck the codeine off of it. We'll just crush it up and each snort a line or whatever. And I was like, all right, that's what you do. Let's do it. And I remember we did it. I'll never forget that first time doing OC. It was just like, well, I did throw up kind of about like immediately, like 5 minutes afterwards. I was like, oh, really? I feel so good. I threw up. But after that, come on, man, you can't put that out there legally like that. It's just too crazy. Well, and I mean, eventually it got to the point to where, like, I mean, I knew certain, you know, I go to the doctor's, oh, my back hurts. He's like, oh, okay. And that okay, ... and there really he wouldn't really say anything else. It was basically kind of an incognito of like, what do you want? Tell me what you want, and I will prescribe it to you if you just say the word.
It was so crazy how lenient they were with their prescription. I mean, I mean, all the time, just like a toothache, like here's Vicodin. And now it's the opposite. They're so strict because they shut down on it that if you actually have legitimate pain, now you can't even get a prescription.
It's crazy. I can give you a prime example of that. Back in 2012, I went and got 2 of my wisdom teeth pulled, and they wrote me a script for 40 10 milligram Percocets. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. So I mean, obviously I didn't, you know, complain or say, what are you doing? You're overprescribing me. I just smiled and took the fucking script. But Alicia, my wife, she went and got one of her wisdom teeth pulled. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. And they wouldn't give her nothing. They didn't give her any. They wouldn't even give her Tylenol 3. They said we're going to give you. They gave her 800 milligram Motrin or ibuprofen or whatever. Yeah. And we're just kind of like, they told her, they said, our dentist's office doesn't believe in prescribing opioids. We don't do that. And it got me thinking a little bit like, well, what if someone's getting a root canal? Like, I mean, you know, in a certain situation where you have somebody, you know, put back and you're literally like ripping the root of their nerve. They use Novocaine for that though, right? Yeah. They'll Novocaine you up. But I mean, it was interesting to see because, you know, she came home and got the Motrin and all that stuff. And she had to go get that filled. We were laughing about it too. It's like, well, they can't prescribe opioids. They're like, here's 800 milligram Motrin. Like you can't just take 4 of the little ones you have at the house there.
No, every time I've been given a prescription for ibuprofen, I just throw it in the trash. I'm like, I'll just go buy it at Target. Like it does
for a lot cheaper than what you guys want to get me here, which is something that I would like to figure out how to work. And I'd probably throw up again how the insurance and the medical companies are however they work their finances together.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. I know that something like there's a thing like when you get your bill from the doctor or the dentist and it says it was $800 the insurance company took care of 600, you owe 200. Well, the insurance company didn't actually pay $600. They negotiate a lesser price. So you think your insurance company just shelled out 600, they shelled out say 300, and the other part was a part of a discount they receive that you wouldn't receive if you were paying out of pocket. It's all a bunch of bullshit. But
which, like, when we had our second child, we were on the Obamacare plan, the AC, you know, the good insurance and all that, but on our own business and everything. We didn't get no subsidies. So I mean, it was kind of like, wow, this is massively expensive just to be able to have the kid and everything. Well, we had some credit card fraudulent activity, so I had to switch our cards, and the payment was set up on automatic draft off the card. I didn't notice we'd missed the payment until 25 days afterwards. So I called them and said, oh, God, I'm sorry. Let me make that late payment, and I'll go ahead and make next month's payment too. We'll just get y'all taken care of. They said in the state of North Carolina, Blue Cross Blue Shield, if you don't make the payment after 25 days, automatically you're canceled. Your insurance is dead. So I said, well, that sucks. Let me go ahead and re-enroll. And they said, well, sir, it's March. You can't re-enroll.
Until November, right? Or December.
I said, well, my wife's going to have a baby in May. The only reason I got on this plan back in, November, December was to make sure that she'd be covered for this. We didn't have to pay a whole lot of money and everything. It wasn't absolutely nothing they would do. They would not take us back no matter what. So we went and looked at a whole bunch of other insurance plans that were off of the marketplace. None of them would cover pregnancy, not a single one of them. So we had to basically play insurance provider with the healthcare people because we paid out of pocket for the entire pregnancy.
That's crazy.
The only thing about that, we ended up getting more than a 65% discount. If you take the premium that we would have paid for the Obamacare plan, for the amount of time that she would have been on it, and you take the amount of the deductible we would have had to pay and the amount of money that we still would have paid with the pregnancy, even on the Obamacare plan, it came out that out of pocket, we maybe ended up paying a few hundred more. I mean, it was more, which I'm not happy about, but to actually see like, wow, we paid out of pocket for this, and that insurance really wasn't going to save when you add all the costs of everything in, the deductible, your premium, your plan, all that stuff. It really comes out to. And that hospital gonna get $20,000 for that kid one way or another. I mean, it's
and this was for your second. This is for your second.
Yeah,
child.
This is for the second.
So this is crazy. I grew up with you, and you're a dad now. That's just, it's got to be a crazy feeling. Like just
like people that knew me in high school and stuff is like, wait a minute, he's a dad. Like, I'm gonna pray for his kids.
Yeah. So what's that like? What's that feeling knowing that there's a whole nother life that you are responsible for?
It's crazy, man. I remember when I first found out that we was I remember it totally exactly. It was the year we went to the Super Bowl, as a matter of fact, 2015, because we had the kid in 16. And it was the Sunday that we were playing Seattle in the playoffs. We had the pregnancy test and everything. And I wouldn't let Alicia do it till the game was over. I was like, I can't focus. I can't know what's happening with that. Just let me watch this game. When this game's over, we'll find out. And so she didn't tell me, but she went in there and everything after the game stuff, and came out, was just smiling and everything and cheesing, and had the thing in her hand. And, I knew before she even showed me. I was like, oh yes. And the immediate thought and feeling that went through me was pure joy and excitement. And I wonder if it's a girl, it's going to be a boy, which all the names of this. And the very second thought and immediate feeling that went through me was like, I'm going to go to the airport and get on a plane and fly to Mexico. Holy shit. And it was a lot of emotions for sure. But yeah, man, after we had the kid, I remember being in the room, like it was crazy. Bless her heart. My wife's such a strong fucking woman. She was in labor for 54 hours.
What?
That is a long time. Yeah, they wanted to do induction and things like that. So we went in Thursday at like 7 at night. They tried to start the induction. Long story short, Saturday at about midnight, after I got extremely rough with the nurses and told them, you're going to call the doctor back out here to check on my wife. She's in pain. The epidural's not working. Something's wrong. I know, natural instinct, bad alarm going off here. Something's wrong. Doctor ends up coming back out there at 12:30 in the morning. All right, fucking woke me up. What's happening? He does the test and everything's like, yes, for some reason her epidural's not working. She's feeling everything. And the umbilical cord's wrapped around the baby's neck. We think it's cutting off the oxygen supply. We've got to get that baby out now. We're doing an emergency C-section. Everybody to the operating room. I was scared to death. Alicia was just like, I don't give a fuck what y'all have to do to stop this. Cut me open, cut my head off, dude. You know what? At this point, whatever we got to go, whatever we got to do. So we got in there and everything, and I was nervous, and I'm already kind of like in tears, emotional, like, oh my God, my wife could have died, the baby could have died, what's going on? Everybody was so running around, okay, get this up, do this, we gotta do that. All right, go ahead, give me this. And then so I was panicking, just looking around and everything. And the next thing I knew, I heard a baby cry. And I was like, who the fuck has a baby in here? I was like, who the fuck has a goddamn? And it didn't, it took about maybe 3 or 4 seconds to register in my head. I was like, that's your kid, dude. That's your fucking kid right there, man. And oh yeah, man, I've never felt any type of drug that moved my emotional, physical, mental state of being. It puts you in some kind of just like numb state of excitement. It's hard to describe. The same thing happened with the second one too.
Yeah,
but it's awesome. It's changed my life a lot. I've definitely tried to be more responsible, which I succeed at a lot of times, and sometimes I fail at.
Well, you were already pretty responsible.
One thing about that, I will say, out of all the substances I used to do and things like that, like I'm a pothead. I'm going to smoke weed the rest of my life. Do I use it as a medicine? Yes. Am I one of those people that's going to go out there with a sign like, give me my medicine, you're taking the medicine away and everything? Like, no, I'm not, because like I also fucking love to smoke weed. So I know I would do this if it helped me. If this gave me no medical benefits at all, I would still smoke the shit out of this because I like the way it makes me feel.
Well, it levels you out, but it's also a recreational thing. Like I think alcohol is that way for people, right? They use it recreationally, but it also levels them out. The difference is alcohol doesn't constantly help you. It also has moments of bringing you down and making you feel guilt and making you have hungover.
That is the one substance I will say that it's like, I mean, obviously illegal drugs, opiates, cocaine and shit like that. I really don't mess with. I got kids. I don't seek that out and everything. I mean, maybe, if I'm at a bar hanging out, having a beer, somebody's like, oh, I got a codeine pill, I mean, that's the pot, maybe.
But you even have to be careful about that now because there's fentanyl and fake
in everything, man. So if I'm at a bar, fentanyl in the damn weed now.
I know. I say, if the only way I would ever do painkillers now is if a doctor prescribed it to me. And again, if you're want to use painkillers, I tell people buy the fentanyl test strips on Amazon and test your product.
Yeah, they're cheap.
Just to be safe.
Yeah, public services announcement. If you like opioids and you do them, I mean, this podcast is all about that. So we obviously don't judge. But yeah, test your shit safe nowadays, guys. It's scary.
In this country because we're not doing anything about it. Anyway, though, back to the subject. So your dad now, you got your places in the mountains, which is so cool. You got 4 locations. And I wanted to ask you about the phrase head shop. I don't know if we talked about this last time. Is that phrase simply just pothead? Is that where that comes from? Like head shop?
I think that some of it comes from there, but the main thing that I think where it comes from, and I could be wrong about this, but with the hippie culture and the head shops growing out of the hippie culture there, sorry, I kind of tripped over my words. I think it comes from deadheads.
Oh, really?
They would call it a head shop because you used to be able to go to the head shop and they would have all your dead stuff for your tour van, your buttons, your tapestries.
That's so spot. Yeah, and that's why they still today have all kind of Grateful Dead stuff.
Exactly. We have a big selection of Grateful Dead stuff in our store, and it sells really, really well.
I knew it was going to be something so just obvious that I didn't think about, but that's definitely what it is.
Some of the younger kids don't even know who Jerry is, and it's so funny, man.
You know what you need to do? You need to carry.
One of them bought the poster, and I was just like, "Oh, you like that poster, huh?" So I love the way it's doing his hair and everything. It was like a tie-dye one, and it had his hair all out, and it was really cool and everything. And the guy's just like, "Yeah, man, I know it's kind of morbid, but I just love Charles Manson."
Yeah, that's very
morbid.
He
was buying the Jerry Garcia poster.
Oh, I got you. You thought that was Charles Manson.
Yeah, so
Jerry. There's completely 2 different guys. I mean, their lives are just not at all in line with what they believe in.
Not really at all. I mean, they did both try to make it in the music industry at one time. One of them did, one of them didn't, and I think he killed a lot of people because they didn't.
Exactly. Yep.
You don't want to play my music.
What you should do at your head shops is you should sell the book. One book that you should sell is Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test.
Yes, I read that,
and that tells the whole story of the Grateful Dead and their whole movement. Coming out of San Francisco, when they would do these acid parties and kids would just show up, the Grateful Dead would play, and cool thing was, what was his name? Owsley. Owsley was one of the biggest
Yes.
LSD producers in the country, and he was the Grateful Dead sound guy. And so he would have all this pure LSD, and people would come watch the Grateful Dead. And when the record labels or whoever would be like, y'all need to go on tour, they were like, no, these acid tests are too important. We're not going on tour. We're going to stay here in San Francisco and play parties.
Have you ever done any research about the I want to say it was the Merry Pranksters?
Yeah, the Merry
Followed them
Pranksters.
around? Yeah.
That was Tim
were
Kesey's
such
group
a
of
huge
people.
movement. Give me 1 second, man. My TV just turned on in the other room for some reason. It is loud.
No worries.
Got ghosts in this house.
Yeah, so everybody still listen to me. Me and Buckley go back to high school. We used to ride around and just blaze out his Jeep and just get so high. Sometimes we'd all roll our own blunts.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, so I was just telling the stories about how
smoking in a Jeep.
yeah, how we used to blaze that out.
We literally ripped the back of the front seat down so we'd have a rolling
rolling table. That's right. That's crazy.
Was the entire. I remember. Yeah, man, that Jeep was something.
You should get another one of those just to have around.
Oh no! Again, my lovely wife. I think it was for my 28th, 29th birthday. She found the exact replica, same color and everything, same year, 1987, 2-door Jeep Cherokee Laredo brown. And she was like, yeah, it was for sale for $450 and it ran. So I just bought it for you. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And
super awesome.
I fixed that thing up and I fucking love that damn thing. I think I drove out to boardwalks a few times in it.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
I do not have that anymore. It didn't last very long.
No. But yeah, so then we're talking about the Merry Pranksters, but oh no, I wanted to ask you about the Headshops in Gastonia, because remember when if I remember correctly, when we first started hanging out, because you and I started hanging out, I believe you were, how old are you right now? Are you 39?
39, yeah.
And when did you turn 39?
Holy shit, I just did in September. Oh my God, it's coming.
Yeah, because I'll be 39 in February.
Next week. No, ain't got too many wrinkles yet. He's still looking young.
But yeah, so we started hanging out. I believe I was 15 and you were 16, but like we're
it was
almost.
I think we'd actually kind of met a little bit before that. The first time I ever met or saw you was at church with the
that's the North Carolina
people
thing.
There and stuff.
Yeah, we were skateboarding at Greer.
Not that we actually stayed for the church. It was more of a like, I can go here and then sneak around back and skateboard and smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, so we would drop off for YouTube and not go.
And you were playing on oh God, what was the song? Glycerine by Bush. I remember this very. I remember coming in and just remember and be like, "Who's that guy?" I'm like, "Oh, he's playing Bush. Oh, you know who Bush is? Oh, that's cool. He's probably cool." Because that was a big thing for both of us, I think, growing up too. I mean, experiment with substance and everything, but music. I mean, music,
definitely,
still huge for me.
Yeah. You play guitar. You still play guitar, I'm sure.
Yeah. I try every morning. I get up. I try to. If the kids aren't up or whatever, there's no laundry or dishes anywhere, the morning, 10 minutes on the acoustic, that's good for the soul. I firmly believe that.
I agree. But yeah, so when we first started hanging and we started smoking together, I don't think there was a head shop in Gastonia at the time.
There wasn't. If I recall correctly, we had to go to Charlotte to either Infinity's Inn, etc.
Yep. And then Smoker's Edge, I believe, was that the one that opened up?
Yep, Smoker's Edge. And that was a good head shop.
Yeah, but I remember you had to walk through they ID'd you at the front, and then you had to go through like a curtain to get into the back where the pipe.
Yeah, it was like the way they'll do that. They do that in dispensaries out in Colorado. They'll have a waiting room. I think you got a limit on how many people can actually be in on the floor. Yeah, and then they got armed guards walking around everywhere. So some of them are a little scary. I'm like, man, there's literally a guy with like a SKS.
That's crazy.
Standing at your door.
I've went to some of the smaller towns in Colorado, like in Glenwood Springs, and like you just walk into a counter and they just pull out a jar full of buds. Like, so it probably depends on the dispensary, the location.
That makes sense, actually. So we were in Denver.
Yeah, so, I've only been to one in Denver, but because when we went to Denver, we actually were going to Aspen, so we just went to Denver, drove straight to Aspen, went to some dispensaries there, but. But the weird one was Chicago. I went to Chicago recently and I was like, oh, they got legal bud here now. So I went to a place and they were like, all right, you got to, in the waiting room is where you order your bud. You can't smell it, look at it or anything. You got to go on an iPad, pick out what you want. And then they let you in to pay for it. And then once you pay for it, they bring it in a bag and they send you out the back door. You can't even come back in the way you came in. It's like some weird thing. It's like, well,
that's crazy. That's not that much different than just like calling you man nowadays. Hey man, you got something? Yeah, I got it. All right, I seen a little bit.
Well,
Damn,
no,
I hope that shit's good.
Hold on. That was Washington, D.C. Now, when I went to D.C., I was like, oh, I heard they got weed here. Well, so I go to one of the places. They're like, yeah, you have to have a card. You have to be a Washington, D.C. resident. I was like, oh, son of a bitch. So I went to the bar next door and I was telling him, I was like, man, I thought y'all had weed here. And it's like, they won't sell it to me. He goes, oh, you just got to call a delivery service, man. They don't give a shit. I was like, what? So I looked it up. I called the delivery service. He's like, all right, man, where you at? And I was like, I'm at this bar. He's like, what are you wearing? And I told him what I was wearing. He's like, I'll be there in 20. I was like, all right. So I sat outside with my beer and this dude just shows up walking with the brown paper bag, sets it on the table. He goes, yo, that's free, man, but I need a $60 donation. I was like, all right. And I gave him $60 and he just left. I was like, and I opened the bag up. There was a fucking eighth of weed in there. I was like, that was the weirdest thing because it's decriminalized.
Like,
it's not legal.
Be like, dude, be like, you're not fucking legal, man. You've been doing this for 10 years this exact same way. He's like, yeah, well, I'm taking donations now.
Yeah, exactly. They said some of the shops there, they'll actually they'll give you a free shirt, but you have to give you buy a $60 shirt, you get a free eighth of weed. But the idea is that we're selling weed, not shirts here. You know, it's just a loophole.
Well, I like the donation idea now. I mean, you can write that off, right? Write my weed off.
Right, my weed off, because yes, that's actually a good point. But no,
so it's a little bit different than consumptions. I was talking to my accountant about that. And she's like, so you're thinking of going out west again, huh? I was like, yeah. She was like, there are certain things you can't write off. I said, yeah, I know. She's like, no, don't go out there thinking you're gonna just be able to pay for everything on the business dime. She said, you can't go out there and buy a pound of weed and bring it back here. I was like, well, I can't do that anyways, David. That's illegal.
But I can smoke it while I'm out there.
If I'm going to do that, I'm not going to write it off. Be like, oh, here's my illegal purchase, $2,800 or whatever.
The proof of what I just did. Yes. No, so when I was in DC, so then I the next day I woke up, I had most of the eighth left because I was only there for 2 nights. And so on the third morning I woke up, I missed my flight. So me and Rayburn stayed up super late. And so I woke up, I was like, I missed my flight. Holy shit. So I got a new flight, but not till like 6 p.m. So Rayburn's like, I'm out of here. I got to catch my flight. I was like, peace. I'm stuck here till 6 now. So I had like half of that eighth left.
Like, I'm just going to get high.
So
by the way, I know you listen to these, Rayburn. Fucking miss you, bro. Shout out to that guy.
Shout out to Burn.
Sure. The Burn.
So I put the weed in my, because we had to check out of the Airbnb. So I threw all my shit in my bag, threw the pot in the top of my bag, and I left. And I was like, you know what? I got till 6. I'm gonna go check out some museums. So I went to the Smithsonian. I walk in. They're like, open up your bag. I don't think anything about it. I open up my bag. He's like, what's that? I was like, that's marijuana. He's like, you can't have that. He goes, you can't have that. You're going to jail. I was like, what? And like, he's like, seriously, dude. He's like, you're fucked. I was like, I bought this like from a guy on Google. I thought it was legal here. He's like, so he calls his boss over, and his boss comes over. He goes, what is that? And I was like, I thought this was legal. He goes, are you out of your mind? And I was like, I bought it from a place. And he's like, today's your lucky day because I do not have time for this shit. I'm dealing with something else. Get the fuck out of here. And that's what he said to me, like straight up cussing at me. I was like, I'm out. And I just left. I immediately got on one of those little rented those Uber scooters. I got the app. I was like, boom, it's on. I took off, went down the road like shaking. I was like, oh my God, I almost just missed my flight and then went to jail. So
wow.
First bar I went to, I just went in the bar. I walked in.
Fucking shot. You can have this weed.
Well, so I took off my bag when I got to the bar, and I realized that I didn't close it. It was still wide open. Everything was still there, and the pot was still there. They didn't take it or anything. I was like, holy shit. So I looked at the bartender. I was like, hey, do you smoke? No. And I was like, hey, do you smoke? And the bartender was like, yeah. I was like, this is yours, man. I was like, I'm done. I just want to get on my flight and go home.
Your town's trying to indict me, goddammit. It's a fucking trap. I wonder what that cop thought when you were just like, I just called this dude on Google. He's like, are you sure you weren't in your phone contacts?
Do you know what Google is?
I've heard the Google story before,
yeah,
sir.
He had to know. See, the thing I didn't consider is that the Smithsonian is a federal building. So those cops were federal cops, and it's not federally legal. And that's the thing is, if it was a DC cop, it is.
Yeah, I wonder if they could have charged you federally.
I guess it would have been a felony. I don't know if it would be a felony, but it would have been a federal misdemeanor if that's.
It'd been a federal. Yeah.
I don't know.
Fuck. All because fucking American Airlines can't get their shit straight. Well, I guess maybe you missed a flight, but still, and that's crazy.
I missed the flight. That was the
for a little. 100%. I mean, just to be like, you can't just be like, oh, you got some weed, huh? Be like, yeah. Be like, well, you can't bring that in here. And if you're not a resident here, you're really not supposed to have it. So, why don't you go visit another museum?
Yeah.
No, it could be cool. Like really, you go spend taxpayer dollars to put this man in handcuffs to go put him in here. And the only reason you didn't do it is because you got somebody else that you're more pissed off at right now.
Who knows what they did? Is it a violent offender, or does somebody else have cocaine, which is more important? I mean, who knows? Probably somebody was acting up or something. I don't know. But you're right. It's ridiculous, the idea that still today someone can get arrested for pot. Oh, which brings me to something. North Carolina, you guys still haven't done anything for medical. But there's supposedly there's a bill in 2022 that's supposed to go, get voted on. But I was reading it, and it's kind of a shit bill. It's like you're gonna have medical marijuana for only very strict, like it has to be like cancer, epilepsy, like a PTSD is the only one that some people can get a diagnosis. I was able to get a diagnosis.
The reason that they've thrown PTSD in there is because the bill is getting back really hard by the Veterans Affairs of America, of foreign wars. And there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of diseases and things that it doesn't cover at all. But PTSD is one that most all those people, they say, I got PTSD. They say, why? They say, I was overseas. Yeah, no one's gonna question that. I don't think we need to ask, well, what happened over there? What made you get PTSD?
Yeah.
Like, well, I was in a war, motherfucker.
Yeah. And also it helps them. These drugs clearly help people with PTSD. And the fact that that has to be voted on in 2022, like, give them the fucking weed. Like they were over there fighting your bullshit war. They got traumatized and they just want to get high. And you're saying they're going to go to jail until we pass this legislation. Hold off on getting high. No.
And that's not going to happen either.
Yeah, they're smoking.
Yeah, believe me, I personally think it's probably easier to get weed in America than it is to buy vapes underage right now. At least in our store, man, there's a huge movement in the industry right now, to like almost like if you're one of those stores selling to underage people, or if you still haven't gone from 18 to 21, fuck you, man, get on board. You're the reason that they got us under the microscope, right?
Yeah, and then they're going to outlaw it for adults like me. I don't even have kids, and they're going to say, because of the kids you can't vape. Well, I'm 38 years old. Why can't I do what the fuck I want to do? Well, the kids are doing it. Well, tell them to stop. Raise them better. Get the iPad out of their hands.
Exactly. And the fact is, none of that's going to happen because all these kids, me and you started smoking cigarettes. A cigarette. It doesn't taste like strawberries or candy or cotton candy or fucking gummy bears or anything like that.
We loved them.
Yeah, loved them to death.
Nobody was raising
worse or anything, but that buzz.
They weren't raising hell about that though. Back when we smoked, they were like, "Oh, the kids are smoking cigarettes. Outlaw them. Cigarettes are way worse." So my thing is, the kids are vaping.
They were making fucking songs about it. Smoking in the boys' room. So they were. Doctors were promoting it. They were making songs about it.
Yep.
It was in the 60s. It was classy. It was looked at as a classy thing to do.
Exactly. And now what they're doing is places like Walgreens have stopped selling vapes altogether, but they still sell cigarettes. I'm like, you're not getting it, I don't think, because one thing is ridiculous. Clearly worse. And if anybody, like say me, if you see me out in public and I'm vaping, that is one less cigarette you have to smell, because if it wasn't this, it was going to be a cigarette, and it stinks. Everybody hates the smell around them. And also it causes cancer and all these other problems. I'm sure that vapes are going to come out that, probably contributes to heart disease and things like that.
I'm sure it does, because the nicotine's
but
high,
not as bad as the tar of actual
not at
smoke.
all. I personally know from I smoked 19 years and I haven't had a cigarette in almost 8-9 years now, and I could run a mile if I want to. I get up, play with my kids. I don't wake up in the morning coughing up.
I cough every morning bad.
Like, oh man, it was so bad. And none of that happens with the vapes. Are they healthy for me? Fuck, probably no.
They're definitely not healthy.
Yeah.
The question is how unhealthy are they?
Because I do like nicotine, and there are a few studies out there that say that, nicotine actually is healthy for the body, but I'm imagining that would depend on how much you're putting in your body and how you're delivering it to your system.
Some of it might be because it's a stimulant. There might be some positive benefits, but I do know it's not good for your heart, and it constricts your vascular system.
That's definite.
So, and that again probably depends on how much you do. If you're an occasional, and I don't do it all the time. When I drink is when I do it, and but I usually have a few beers every day, and I vape when I'm having those beers. because I used to be cigarettes. As soon as I had my first beer, cigarette. But I never woke up. I was never the wake up and light a cigarette. Where I don't, you might have been, but I never could have one.
No, that was not. No, I usually couldn't even smoke a cigarette until I'm eating breakfast. At least I couldn't stand smoking before I ate for some reason. It wasn't a. Now I know people like that. Alicia was like that, definitely. She'd wake up. I mean, a lot of times that this cigarette be lit. She'd wake up in the bed, light the smoke. I was like, damn, that's crazy. I can't do that.
Oh, yeah, Meg would wake up and have one. I remember when me and Matt were roommates, he would wake up and go to have a cigarette and then go back to bed. Like he just had to go have a cigarette. It's like, that's crazy to me. I can't even just stay in bed. And when you're finally up, then maybe we can talk. But I wouldn't have one. I don't know. I always had stomach issues in the morning with nicotine. Anyway, I feel like people are going to be like, told me more about the cigarettes. But no, I want to start the North Carolina laws. Nothing's happening there. I was curious. Do you at the Pied Piper, do you guys do any kind of lobbying or anything to support, try to advocate for legal changes, or you just kind of stay under the radar?
Occasionally, we donate to places like Normal and things like that and stuff. There's a few places in North Carolina, lobby groups and things like that. I do have to be a little bit careful with that, do the research, figure out where they're coming from, because I don't want to end up donating to a group
terrorist organization.
My competition is.
I got you.
Although sometimes it doesn't. I'm like, well, so what? This group's backed by competition. Their message needs to get out there. So we'll go ahead and do.
I think you and your competitors though would all stand to benefit if recreational cannabis became a thing in North Carolina, which I think would only happen if it went federal.
That could be a possibility. It could go the other way, because right now there's no regulation on the Deltas. We're selling Delta-10, Delta-8.
You don't think that
New York, what they just did, they said, okay, weed's legal. We're about to start dispensing. But Delta-10 and Delta-8 are illegal. You won't be able to sell those. Those are done. You can't sell those. So if they do that, what they did in New York with the banning of certain cannabinoids, right? Like you can get legal weed that'll get you high, but you can't get the stuff that doesn't get you as high, because they say we don't know the effects of this particular cannabinoid. It all comes down to the fact that the marijuana industry itself, the legal weed industry out west, does not like Delta-8. They don't. It can be sold without regulation. It's taking their profit shares. They're not getting as much money because
you saw Delta-8
can be sold at a gas station. And weed cannot. And in California and Colorado, I was reading a report that was saying the dispensaries are losing sales to the Delta-8 because people don't have to wait in line. They don't have to pay the taxes on it, which are outlandish. They don't pay. 48% in Colorado, you can go right down the road and save 48% on something that's going to get you just as close. The Delta-8 gets me pretty good. So I'm thinking if they do like they did in Florida and they're like, okay, only these specific companies are going to be allowed to dispense, and you have to have, been in the agricultural industry for at least 20 years or longer if you want to manufacture. If they were to couple that law with the we're going to ban the cannabinoid substances, that would actually be terrible for us. Because not only would we not be able to sell the now legal Delta-9 THC, we wouldn't be able to sell the Delta-8 anymore either. That is what they want to create out west. They want it to be honest. The government level, they want it to be as regulated as possible so they can get as much tax revenue off of it. And Delta-8's not providing any type of tax revenue anywhere right now except for sales and use. Really?
Well, so would you see what Texas just did, right?
No,
I believe Texas just outlawed Delta-8 completely, and they didn't do any legal.
Did they? It's outlawed.
I remember where I heard
it's outlawed in about 21 states already. Actually,
but the states it's outlawed in, you're saying most of them have cannabis, though.
I think
some of them
do, some of them don't. I think it's still legal in like the big ones like California and Colorado. But there's a lot of states where it's been banned. A lot of states where it's been banned is also states where kratom has been banned.
Like Alabama. Some of those
things like
kratom being banned,
because the government, some people in the government probably don't even know there's a difference between kratom and Delta-8, because they didn't know there was a difference between the THC vapes that were killing people out west and a mod with strawberry vape juice in it. I thought it was the same thing.
Do you think kratom is a substance that we should worry about with addiction, or do you think it's what's your take on that?
It's addictive. I personally believe it's addictive.
I know it's addictive because I've
tried
had
it a few times, and I've definitely felt like coming down off of a drink. I felt that I want another drink. I want to do that again. And I've even we've had people come into the store who've switched to kratom off of opioids, which is great. They're like, yeah, I don't use opioids anymore. They're like, but I can't get off this fucking kratom shit. I can't stop this.
Well, I've got addicted to kratom, and I've gotten off of kratom, and it's pretty easy to get off of if you get the pills, because you can regulate how much you're taking, and then you can take one less every day and just taper off.
The withdrawal is nothing like an opioid.
Oh, you're not physically sick, no throwing up or nothing. You just don't feel right. It's probably similar to somebody who drinks coffee, a lot of coffee every day, and quits. There's coffee withdrawal. I've never had coffee withdrawal, but I've read about it from Michael Pollan's book, and he described it, and it sounded to me like a kratom withdrawal. It's like very similar, and I've heard that they're very similar plants. It's just that kratom is an opioid, actually. People don't realize that, but it's a partial agonist, just like the cannabis is a partial agonist. So therefore, your withdrawals are going to be less. There's no chance of overdose. So my thing is, while it is addicting, I don't think the states that outlaw are doing a very big disservice for people that want opiates, because it's a much safer choice than going.
I think so. To an illegal. I personally believe so too. You don't get. I mean, I did take what I was told is like there's certain strands and everything like that, some will make you up, some will make you down. But if you just take a little bit of it, it does seem to have more of a stimulant effect, where if you take a whole lot, it seems to more mimic an opioid. Like I think I was trying to see, I was like, well, I'm going to mix, like 10 grams in a drink. Like, I know that's crazy, but I want to see what that does. And that did put me at certain states where, I was almost on a nod.
Oh yeah, no, I've done about, if I do between 5 and 10 milligrams, it feels like I'm on a Percocet almost. Like it's a good feeling. It's like I feel good, but it also have a little more energy. I don't feel quite as messed up, but it does feel very similar. I feel really good, but I get energy from it. That's what I like about it. And I still take it.
Yeah, I felt the energy from it too. We went to Walmart the first time I did it, and I think I only took 3 or 4 grams maybe. And I was running around. Alicia said I had coke jaw. I said, "Well, you mean see your jaw? You're so tight and keep talking and doing it." I was like, really? God, I didn't even. I went and looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh man, I'm looking like a head in here.
So before we go, because I know we're going to get off here soon, so we can both have lunch and get ready to watch this Panthers game. This
game, and we're going to just beat the crap out of them, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to beat one of the best teams in the league. I heard that they're a little banged up. I don't know. I don't watch football like I used to when I was in doing. But
DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray were out last week.
Well,
they still won, but
you're telling me there's a chance.
Yes.
So no, I did a podcast with my sister that I just released, and I'm releasing my mom's next week. Yours might come out this Thursday. It might come out the following after Thanksgiving, because I'm supposed to do a podcast right now, Tuesday morning. The Buckley Foundation, which is almost like the MAPS of Britain or UK. Like they're psychedelic.
I've heard of them before. What do they do? I've heard that name.
They do psychedelic therapy research and stuff like that for psilocybin. And they're so if I can get him on tomorrow, because I just did the Psilocybin Academy last week, then I'm going to do back-to-back psilocybin episodes. And then my Thanksgiving special is my mom, because basically it's the first time, and I did it on a podcast. I actually sit down and tell my mom like what happened at the trailer, that there was drugs being sold, and that when we got robbed, it wasn't the rent. Yeah, that like there's when I went to jail for the pot plant, when I got robbed at gunpoint, and you were there, my sister was there when that happened. We all got robbed. I think they got $10 out of us, because the guy that sold drugs wasn't there.
$5 from your sister. Yeah, I remember they kept trying to take my chain, and I was just like, "I'm on fucking Xanax. You're gonna have to shoot me." I remember like not honestly being that scared or worried in the beginning.
It was shock, right? You're like,
but
what?
Once Kristen come into the scene, I was just like, all right, give them what they fucking want. I don't want nobody to get hurt here.
Yeah, that was scary. My sister was crying. It was like, I mean, she was terrified.
The whole that aggravated me, and really, I mean, I'm never gonna lie. Even after all that happened and everything, I was like, no, I don't want to find whoever the fuck that was, man. It was, but whatever's whatever. You end up getting in trouble with that. But yeah, I remember they bapped you with the rifle or whatever. That pissed me off so goddamn bad for some reason. I was like, man, don't fucking hit him with a gun.
Yeah, hit me in the head with the. I think it was an AK. It was an assault rifle of some kind.
They were like the worst robbers in the world, though. They knew what room to go to, obviously, because they kept trying to get back there. And
somebody that came and bought pot at the trailer, they told that they knew it was somebody. They were friends with somebody that came and bought drugs. Who said, you need to go to this place. This is who has it. But they picked the worst time, because the dude who was selling wasn't there. and we had nothing. So like I said, they got $10. They left pissed. They like broke our mirror and then they left.
Oh yeah, or they broke the mirror. That's right. Well, the whole thing about that too, I'm like, you guys are like the worst robbers in the history of robbers. Like you're all trying to get back in this room and everything. You're taking $5 from a man, $5 from his sister. There's probably about $2,500 worth of music equipment right here behind us. I mean, guitars, bass, and drums, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It was terrible. The one dude didn't even have a gun. He just had brass knuckles.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man. Like for a split second, I was just like, man, let's fucking rush him, man. Let's fuck this. All we gotta do is get that gun from that one dude and just fucking over that dude. He got brass knuckles. He ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah. It was
a scary situation though.
It was scary. I mean, definitely. Well, what I wanted to ask you is, do you think, because everything's changing around the country with the cannabis laws, but do you think in places such as North Carolina, where cannabis is still illegal, that it's still a violent game, like where people are still like, there are situations that happened to us are still happening because it's not regulated?
I'm not sure. I don't personally know about that. I will say that I know that there was a gentleman that went to the college up here, Western North Carolina University, and he did some things and things like that. And he graduated and everything. And I heard about 6 months later that he's dead now. So he ripped somebody off for I don't know. There wasn't it was a violent thing. So I'm not sure what happened or whatever, Yeah, but from what I read about all that through the paper. So, I don't know what went down or anything, but me personally, I don't see it as being that big of a huge problem, because what brings the violence is when you get the bigger drug industries, the cartels, basically, because to them it's pure money. You mess with their money, they're going to get violent. That's the way they operate, But now what you're getting is it's a lot more homegrown stuff. It's things from Colorado getting shipped over here. And
that's what I was wondering. If even though it's not legal in North Carolina, there's getting an overflow from states that do have legal cannabis, and it's creating a less violent atmosphere all across the board, even though it's not.
I think it is, to be honest. I really do. Now, I'm not saying that there's not violence associated with it. I mean, I especially know, out in California, the Green Triangle there, Humboldt County and everything. But they did a whole show about that. I think it was National Geographic, and they followed like 4 different growers for like about a year or two. And now, out there, the gunfire, crops getting ripped off. I mean, it was intense a little bit. Growers trying to rip off growers. You had out there, what it seems you had illegal growers and legitimate growers, and they'd fight each other if need be. So I think the more that we go down the road of legalization, which unfortunately comes with regulation, but as long as the regulation can be done and be done in the right way, it's all the right steps to start taking the power out of the cartel hands and literally putting it back into the hands of our government, which is what they want. If our government would just realize they need to control the supply of drugs into this country, it's going to come. It is going to come.
They need
to control it. Right now, the cartel has the money and the power because they're the ones who are controlling the supply. If somehow our government was able to switch that, then they would be the ones in control, and then the violence would. I can't see how the violence wouldn't go down. Not I'm saying.
I think it would go down completely to zero if all opiates and even cocaine were all sold and regulated illegal. Again, if people think that sounds crazy, it's not. If you want to do cocaine on a Friday night and that's your thing, you like to go to the bar, have some drinks, and do some bumps in the bathroom, and you had a legal source that you could get it for one, the price wouldn't be $100 a gram. The price would be about $10 a gram, and you could afford it.
And it'd be cocaine, like all of it,
and it would be actually cocaine. And you could go to a doctor that would make sure you're not, you got your shit together. And trust me, feel like, well, people who do cocaine don't have their shit together. That's not true. I've done cocaine with surgeons and lawyers. People do cocaine. They like it. There's a reason it's $1 billion industry. These are not poor bums who can barely afford anything. Yeah. These are people with money that want to do cocaine.
It's not the $5 crack rocks that are
watch Wall Street, or these, like, everybody was just doing all kinds of cocaine trying to sell stocks. But anyway, if you legalize it, you cut off the cartel. The cartels go out of business immediately. But what the Mexican government could do is work with the cartels and move them into legitimate business, because they have to do something. You can't just say, all right, now you're all going to be poor, because they have a lot of guns and money. So you want them to still be employed. So you move
all
them.
right, guys, y'all are done now. Oh, you don't understand that we have an army, actually.
Right. So you move them into legitimacy, and then
you could
and then
do that. I don't see why you couldn't do that, because like, where does Purdue get its poppy flower for its Oxycontins and things?
And you don't see that. You don't see
there has to be people who are producing quote unquote illegal substances for the pharmaceutical industry, who then turns them into legal prescribable substances.
I believe they have legal poppy farms for those opiates specifically. But the thing is you don't have, like, the Sackler family never sent assassins to the Johnson Johnson family to take out their, because legitimate business,
they just put bad press out.
You don't do that kind of thing. So what's happening in the cartels wouldn't happen if we moved them into a legitimate business. So that's what definitely
a great example of that actually is alcohol. How many people do we have killing each other over the illegal alcohol trade right now?
None.
Not many. How many people were killing themselves over the illegal alcohol trade in the 20s? Fucking shit ton.
Oh yeah, that's where the mob came from. Yeah, so that prohibition is the best example. And it's pretty interesting to see what's happening with cannabis now and what happened. If you go to a different state, every time you go to a different state, you have to go, what are the alcohol laws? When can I buy liquor? What time on Sunday do they start selling? Every state's different. Yep. And if you go to like Pennsylvania, like you can't even buy or Rhode Island, you can't buy beer at a store. You have to go to a special store to buy anything. And then if you go to Florida, you can buy liquor at Publix here. However, it has to be a separate part of the building. So you have your regular Publix and then a little side door for the little liquor part.
When I was down there, I saw that. I was mind blown too. I was like, they sell liquor at the grocery store. No wonder Florida's ratchet.
But that's all because of prohibition, right? Once we came out of prohibition, each state had to figure out how did they want to legally sell alcohol, and everyone came up with a little bit different rules. A lot of counties didn't legalize; it was dry. Now, Hot Springs, where I just went, it's a dry county still. However, dry no longer means no booze; it just means no liquor. So you can still do beer and wine. So all the laws are slowly changing, and now we're seeing cannabis go to Colorado, go to DC, go to Chicago. You buy it all a little bit differently, and you have to, and also if you're the one selling it, well, it's not federally legal. So how are you washing that money? And there's companies that make all the money washing your money.
Yes, IIPR, man.
I just bought some stock from that yesterday.
They're not shabby, man. There may be a dip on them a little bit here coming up. When we were talking about them last week, I think it was, we was having lunch. They was at like 235. So I mean, you see that run that it's kicking at. But man, yeah, they're just a great company. One thing that I wondered though was like, could legalization hurt their business model possibly?
I think legalization is going to do strange things across the board, but I think with their business model, definitely it sounds like, I mean, if they're making their money basically by helping people to get around the federal laws, once federally it becomes legal.
The greatest thing about it too, though, is that they buy the properties. They now own these properties. They're just leasing them back to the dispensaries.
Well, so then they could blow up. Then if legalization happens,
I'm thinking if it's legal and they own all the properties and everything, they're just going to be like, well, now we're a fucking huge ass dispensary.
Exactly. So, and we need that to happen. And I don't know if Biden's going to do anything. It was a campaign promise. Like Rayburn said, he's like, oh, it's the first time you've been lied to by a politician. It's like touche, but I was counting on that one. That's one of the few things I liked about them at all. They were my least favorite of the candidates in the DNC. They became the nominees, and then they won the election. And now they're our only hope for legalization. And there doesn't look like they're going to do it. I don't know.
Doesn't seem like it.
Unless they're waiting right before the election. They might do it like a political thing right before the election.
I've wondered that. I've wondered if they're not waiting for them for the summer right before the midterms. To try to boost the House and the Senate.
Let's hope that happens. That would be it would be really smart. But the problem is that Biden really is in the pocket of Big Pharma, just like Obama was. And I don't think Big Pharma wants it. And I think he's just like, oh, we're going to legalize, get your votes. And then we're going to not talk about it again. And anytime someone brings it up, like, oh, well, we had COVID to deal with. So that was more important. It's like, yeah, but you could sign a piece of paper. You had enough time to, But anyway, yeah, I'll let you go, man. We're going to get off here. Yes, 12:07. I'm going to go. We're going to make a little lunch, and then I'm going to put this game on. But I feel like I covered about everything. Oh, one last little thing. So 420, this is a little, I think I want to do this. You're going to put together something to do for 420. Me and Meg want to come up and play some music at it. And maybe you and I can do a live podcast and, give away I'll buy a few pipes from you and give them away from,
Yes,
some drugs podcast.
We do want to do something big for 420 this year. I'm not sure what store we would do it at. Maybe Waynesville got a nice big parking lot there and stuff.
Whatever
but I was thinking I'd love to get a food truck, see if I can get a food truck out there, and maybe some of the local breweries be like, yo, come set up your little beer tent out in the parking lot.
That would be sick.
I just have to get a 24-hour permit. I don't think it'd be too hard.
Now, can you legally smoke Delta-8 like in an event like that?
Yes, I think so. I don't, here in Western North Carolina,
and Asheville,
some cops probably aren't going to say anything. Some cops might. There is a big movement up here, especially in the police force. I think one county up here has even been told by their sheriff, if it's less than a half ounce of marijuana, don't even write them a ticket, don't even prosecute them. Take it from them, but don't prosecute them.
Well, now what if it's Delta-8? Because you can't prove that it's Delta-8 until they test it in a lab. Can they take your Delta-8 from you?
That all depends on how cool the cop is. Everything that we sell into packaging, some of our packaging even has QR codes that you can scan and it'll take you to the lab report.
But couldn't somebody could put Delta-9 in that package though?
Quite easily they could. Yeah. So we try to keep all our packaging sealed up. So
if it's sealed, then they couldn't take it. But if it's been open, they could say, we don't know what's in this. And they can technically take. I know when I bought CBD bud, which doesn't even get you high at all. It was just CBD hemp bud or hemp flower. I bought that, and they told me, they were like, "This is legal. However, if you get pulled over with this, they can arrest you for it, and you'll have to until they prove that it's not. They can take you to jail just because you could put anything in there. So basically, take it home and leave it there. That's what they told me.
What they are running into though is they're finding out is that most of the people that they're pulling over and getting this Delta-8 and CBD from, it is what they're saying it is, and they're having to let them go without.
And they're wasting a lot of money.
They're spending thousands of dollars on those tests. They got to send them off to Raleigh. It's got to be a state-approved laboratory test and everything like that. So yeah, they are wasting a lot of money on it. Yeah, which is just throwing up the ball for legalization even more. Like, just legalize it. You won't have to do this.
Yeah, well, and the thing that sucks is that the federal government, because a lot of these small-time law enforcement places, they didn't care about it. They never cared about somebody getting high, but the federal government under Reagan says, how about we give you a cash incentive, $150 for every drug arrest you make. And all of a sudden they were like, done. We now do care about people smoking pot.
And not only that, you know what? If you happen to find nice cars or a lot of money or anything like that, we'll let you keep that and put it into your police force too.
Oh yeah. That's the huge stuff. And that was, I think Clinton actually did a lot of those laws where you could, it might've been Reagan also. I get confused. Anyway, point is if you're driving and you have $10,000 cash on you, let's use a better example. Let's say you have $4,000 cash, because that's enough money for them to take that. Paying a lawyer to get it back might not even be worth it because it's only $4,000. So especially if you're an illegal immigrant and you have $4,000, they can go, we think this is drug money, so we're going to go ahead and take this. If you can prove it's not, you can get it back, but you have to prove it. And it's on you to prove it. It's not on us to prove it's drug money. It's on you to prove it's not. And the legal immigrant goes, well, I'm not even legal here. I guess that's their money now. And they do that all the time. And it's absolutely
a lot of times. You see, it was, what was the series I was watching? Crooked Cops, or When Cops Go Bad, or something like that. It was specifically looking into that exact thing. They had this task force that basically what they were doing was going out and seizing all the drugs and money from dealers and things like that, and just leaving and saying, yeah, if you want your stuff back, just come to the police force. We'll give it back. Come on downtown. We'll give it all back to you. Yeah. But they go in like that. They knew that this dude had like $700,000 of drug money in the hotel. So they sent one of their agents in there earlier before the sting. He robbed a bag of like $120,000. So when they went and did the sting, there was only, $580,000 in the bag and everything like that. But no one knew that. Oh man, it's so crazy. It's crazy. And a lot of times they was robbing dealers and taking the drugs and turning around and selling them back to other dealers.
Yep. The corruption's, anytime you have an illegal market, you're going to see corruption on both sides. And also you have incentive to keep the drug war going, not just from the cops who are like, we don't want to legalize, we're making bank on this, but also you have the criminals that are like, we don't want you to legalize, we're making bank on this. So both forces that are going against each other, both have incentive to keep it going. It's almost like we funded a game of cops and robbers and neither side wants to stop playing the game because they're like, oh, we love this game.
The only ones that really benefit from the legalization is the addicts. They're like, I just need this all the time and I don't need to have to wait for Buddy to re-up.
Yeah, and risk getting something that's going to kill me. I mean, it's really fucking sad the way that we're handling this, or let's just say the way that we're not handling this problem. That's the thing. We're all right. So anyway, we're going to get off here because we're going to go watch a football game. You're going to go see the Panthers. Maybe they'll win. Let's put out that energy for our team that started 3-0. It was a great start.
Put my jersey on. Did you see Cam's press conference?
No, I didn't.
It was good. It was good. He looks different.
Yeah.
He seems like he's ready to work.
Well, I got to say, I miss him.
Let me see your Woo Bird tattoo. Alicia told me, yes, I didn't see that when we was in there. Alicia said Aaron got a Woo Bird tattoo on his hand. I said, yeah. She said he got it for the ruckus.
I did. It was because the Hurricane Irma was coming. I was like, bring the ruckus. That's my motto for this hurricane. I was going through a divorce. Everything was just going crazy. I had to go stay at this hotel for a week as the hurricane came in. And I was like, bring the ruckus. That's my motto. And that was my song.
Awesome.
All right, man. When we get off here, I love you.
All right, bro.
We're going to do that 420 thing. I'll be in touch with you about that.
Definitely. I'll do. Hopefully we'll have a good couple podcasts before then too, man.
I'm down with that. We'll do this whenever. Yeah, for sure.
All right, bro. Well, I love you, man. Go Panthers.
Go Panthers. All right, peace out.
Hey, bro.
Later. Thanks for listening to the Peace on Drugs podcast. Hope you enjoyed that episode with my good friend David Buckley. Next week, tune in for the Thanksgiving special. I did a podcast with my mom in the living room, one of the houses I grew up in North Carolina. And for the first time, I sat with her face to face and was honest about my childhood drug use and the kind of the different things that happened behind the scenes that she may have been unaware of. I opened up about all these things. We had a great conversation, but I figured what better podcast for Thanksgiving than one with my mom. Next week's Momcast. Until then, peace out.